Hello, my beautiful people. We are back once again to some more malicious compliance. So let's get in it and I will see you in a bit. Rude customer wants to buy meat from our meat department. So this story happened probably a good 8 years ago, but it still sticks out in my mind and I have a good laugh about it. Our story starts with some background. I was working at a local supermarket in the meat department and had risen through the ranks to basically be in charge of running it. We were consistently short-staffed, and it was always one person left to close the last 4 hours of the store being open. This meant dealing with the occasional customer and also the dishes in the back, machines being cleaned, stock being put in the walk-in, and other prep stuff. One machine in particular, a motorized meat tenderizer, had to be cleaned and soaked overnight. And as the thing is literally 2 spiral death razor blades, it took some effort to clean and generally had to soak for at least half an hour before you'd be able to rinse it off and soak it again. So it was common to have this machine, all other things were working until close except this machine, disassembled about an hour before we closed. The rude customer is this lady who would always come in and insist we tenderized her meat selection, and every time she would get the same answer of, "We're sorry, but that particular machine is closed earlier due to it being harder to clean." And she would scoff and leave. There were probably 2 weeks of her doing this, despite many attempts and offers of our direct line, so she could call ahead and we would have her order ready. No dice. Well, this day I was closing down the department and it was getting close to closing time. About 40 minutes left. And in walks the entitled lady, and she makes her way through the aisle and walks up to the meat counter. Again, she wants the same order. I try to explain it's closed. She does her normal scoff and walks off. And I think that's the end of it. Nope. She comes back with the store manager. She was friends with her. And again, I explain why I couldn't make her order. The manager tells me to just go wash it off and get her order. The lady looks pleased, and I say, okay, I'll get right on it. And into the back room I went. I started washing the blades on the rollers, and obviously it wasn't doing much, since they haven't been soaking long. I find a small enough brush that can get in between the blades and scrape out the gunk. This whole cleaning process takes me well over 30 minutes. But at the same time, I'm watching through our one-way glass mirror, and seeing the look of joy turn into anger as the woman realizes I wasn't kidding. She eventually got fed up and started to shop through the store. And when I got everything finished and set back up, she was in line at the front getting ready to pay and leave. I quickly turned the machine on and packaged her order and almost ran up to her cart and said, "Here's your order." She said she didn't want it anymore. And I gladly told her that it was store policy that you have to pay for your order if it gets processed, even if you don't want it anymore, and dropped it into her cart and said, "Have a great day." The best part for me, and probably the most malicious of all, was the fact that I still had all my other normal closing duties that would have to be done, and because the store owner has the keys, she had to stay late and pay me overtime while I finished up. After that night, they did not question me again. The rude lady never came back to my knowledge. And yes, she had to buy the meat. I watched her check out and try to fight it, but no dice for her. Hope you enjoyed the tale for my college job. And if you're out there, lady, I hope your meal was wonderful. Dock pay for being late by 2 minutes? Enjoy paying massive overtime. I worked in an electricity retail call center. It was highly unionized, but the management tracked login times to the minute. One incredibly ridiculous thing they did was if you were a minute or two late, they would literally dock your pay by that many minutes. It wasn't really enough for us to really notice, and I'm sure they didn't actually save any money. I mean, if you were 15 minutes late, I could understand not paying, but 3 minutes late? Well, eventually the union discovered what they were doing and were completely pissed that they hadn't been consulted about this dick move. This is where their MC comes in. The union demanded log-on and log-off times for everyone in the call center. What management hadn't counted on was that all of us would often need to wrap up calls and clear the call queue before the call center could officially close. This often meant that operators would leave several minutes after their shift. On bad occasions, it could be 15 to 20 minutes delay before they could clock off, but mostly it was only a few minutes. The union made management recalculate everyone's pay for the year based on clock on and clock off time. They also pointed out that staying past end of shift triggered penalty rates. It turns out everyone, and I mean everyone, had spent more time wrapping up calls at the end of the day than they were late clocking on. Each of us got paid for lost wages at overtime rates. It cost them a fortune, and they never docked the pay of anyone who was late ever again. Stop calling this number? Okay. I work in the Public Works Department with the Street Resurfacing Division for a large city in the US, roughly 500,000. And one of my responsibilities is responding to resident questions when resurfacing residential streets, since most neighborhoods only have street parking. We ask all residents to park on different streets for the 2 days we need to work on the street. One for old asphalt removal, and one for laying down new asphalt. The consequence for not moving your vehicle is being towed. We notify the residents with a letter explaining we will be doing resurfacing and an invitation to a public meeting to answer any questions 3 months in advance of resurfacing. A letter 1 month in advance with the approximate dates of the resurfacing, a letter 2 weeks in advance with the exact dates, and a letter that is a reminder 1 week in advance with the addition of physical signs placed on the streets to be resurfaced. All letters clearly state the expectations to move vehicles and the consequences for failing to do so, in addition to contact info for me to answer any questions. Today, when I arrive in the office, I had a voicemail from a lady who lives on, let's say, 1st Avenue, and her street was being resurfaced next week. She explains she will be leaving for vacation Sunday and was wondering if she could leave her car parked on 1st Avenue while she was gone for a week. Well, it isn't the first time and won't be the last time I get questions that have already been answered in the letters, but little did I know, this time would be a special one. So I call her back to explain that she will need to move her vehicle to a different street while she is on vacation. But when I call, she picks up and immediately hangs up. Okay, maybe she's busy. I'll call back later. 45 minutes later, I call again. And again, she answers and immediately hangs up. An hour after the second call, I call again, and she does the same thing. I'm annoyed that she won't even let it ring to let me leave a voicemail. But I certainly don't want her to come back from a vacation to an impounded vehicle, so I call her back again about 45 minutes after the third call. This time she answers and doesn't immediately hang up, but screams into the phone, "Stop calling this number! Leave me the hell alone or I will call the police." Okay, no problem. I'll stop calling. Enjoy your impounded car, lady. Respecting the wishes of toxic parents. This is more or less a slightly shortened cross post from Am I the A-hole to match the spirit of this subreddit. Was thinking about posting it here anyways, and people are encouraging me to do so. So here it is. Throwaway because coworkers don't need to know about my drama. So 6 years ago I came out to my religious Polish parents. Although they moved to Germany before I was even born, I knew their reaction was probably going to be bad, and my relationship with them was on the line. But hey, took it even worse than expected. About the worst thing they ever said was that homosexuals should never have kids because they would just be abused by their parents. One day, they saw me as a wonderful future father and couldn't shut up about it. Next instant, they act like I'm completely changed. I was speechless and really upset, and they followed it up with, "If you ever have a partner or kids, don't ever think about introducing them to us." At this point, I just told them that I'll remember that one and that they'll get their will and left. In the beginning, I was wondering if they meant it. Literally because prior to my coming out, they couldn't wait to be grandparents, and it was the only thing they looked forward to the most. But when they eventually found out about the partner, and it was a crap storm all over again. So I knew I'd follow through with their ladder. Years down the line, we decided to have a kid, and his sister agreed to step in for surrogacy. We just celebrated our son's first birthday, and until recently they were unaware, and found out by putting my brother on the spot. They went hysterical, called me to confront me, and I just calmly told them I was executing their wishes to the dot of the I, that they are to blame for it, and that they also know how to make it right again, and hang up. They still can't understand how I could treat them like that by not introducing their grandchild. Apparently they want to be part of my life after all, and just said crap they thought would hurt me the most. We decided we won't allow contact to their grandchildren indefinitely until they show some genuine change, so we don't have to worry about negative influences on our child's upbringing. Alrighty guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the stories. Now a quick little mention from anyone who has donated to the Buy Me a Coffee page. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It really does help me out, not only help build this channel up, but financially as well, as I'm moving full-time on YouTube, and it's a little nerve-wracking to say the least. Now I'm not saying this to influence anyone to give me anything, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. Anyways, like usual, if you liked it, consider subscribing, and if you really liked it, hit that like button and maybe a share. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.